Welcome to a Wiser Retirement podcast. Before we get started with the episode, I want to tell you about a new ebook available on our website called Buyer Beware. Why do they keep trying to sell you that annuity? This ebook covers the various types of annuities, negatives to owning annuities, and better investment alternatives to annuities. To download this ebook, you can click the link in the episode notes or go to wiserinvestor.com and you'll find it at the bottom of the page. Now on to today's episode.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast, where we believe the best financial advice should always be conflict-free. I'm your host, Casey Smith, and today I'm joined by Marty Paradise from Paradise Business Coaching, where today we're going to talk about financial planning for small business owners. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Casey, how you doing? It's been a while.
It has. Thanks for coming back on and doing this. You might be the first 3 or 4 Pete, so that's good.
Wow.
So I appreciate your time. I know your time's very valuable. And I think what you're doing with business owners is great. I know that we've had a few wiser clients use your services, and everyone has raved about the progress and success they've had in their business afterwards. So I know you're not a financial planner. You're like the business. Where do you go? The business guru. You're the small business whisperer. Is that what you are?
The small business coach. that knows a little bit, or a lot about a little about a lot, but all the kinds of things that a small business owner needs to, really to grow, scale, strengthen, and structure, and probably most importantly, simplify their business. And that's a mouthful, but I work one-on-one with clients and client partners on a one-to-one basis. I've been doing this for about 12 years, probably every industry imaginable. And I've learned a lot by doing and just listening and working with a lot of different clients. And it's been a lot of fun.
Marty, something happened recently. There was a situation where a client was trying to expand, take advantage of a situation where there's a lot of demand for their business, and they need to hire some key people who are kind of expensive, but you build it, they will come, right? And so their banker told them because these bankers are small business lenders, they don't call themselves business coaches, but they think they know everything about business, and they work at a bank, right? And they told the client, they said, well, what you need to do is just grow slowly. And I just laughed out loud. Like, all right, it's the banker, you nod your head, say yes, you get the loan, you move on. If you have the opportunity to do rapid growth, there's obviously you can grow yourself out of business, so you have to be careful. But
right.
Regardless, in this case, it was pretty clear cut of what they were supposed to be doing. So you just have to be careful where you get financial advice from as a small business owner. I think it's the same way for us. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner, and so therefore I work really well with other business owners, because I am one. I understand the struggles. We've taken pretty much wiser from zero to where we are today, and I've got a few bruises. We're in the business of giving financial advice, but we're also in the business of running a business and people, right, and teams, and there's so many things that we did right. Obviously, we're here, but also we did wrong, and had to pivot, whether it be hiring the wrong person or not having a clear hiring plan, right, for a while. I think we're much better at it.
And you can relate. I mean, you are a small, I'm a small business. I don't have employees, but I think about most of the same things that I talk to my clients about in a kind of a different way. But yeah, you develop your lessons learned, and that because you've lived this, and so it gives you a great perspective to and relate with clients. As a business owner, I have the perspective of relating with small business owners, because I've owned a few small businesses, and I basically just coach small business owners. But yeah, it's that you understand what it's like to be in their shoes, I think is a real key
Right.
part of doing it.
But then I also meet other advisors, random people, none of them that are close to me, but they say, oh, they specialize in working with small business owners. And I'm always like, what do you know about small business? You worked at a Fortune 500 company. There's nothing that relates with that. But
be careful. I work for Microsoft. And when I first started doing this 12, 13 years ago, like, what do you know about small business? You can work for a conglomerate, biggest company, one of the biggest companies, most research-rich companies in the world. You don't know anything about what a small business. I'm like, yeah, I do, because I've owned a few. And
right,
frankly, the things that small business owners need are the same things that big companies need. But it's just obviously on a kind of a very different type of scale.
Well, different scale. There's whole departments for things.
Oh, I know. But when you get down to it, it's business. A small business needs to kind of a focus on the same things that a big business did. You got to focus on your leadership. You got to work on management. You got to work on financial. You've got to work on your products and services. You obviously have to worry about marketing. You have to work about where you think about your sales systems and all that put together. And those are the same things, but just on a dramatically smaller scale. And small businesses don't have HR departments. They don't have usually vice presidents of sales and marketing or all this money to do.
A lot less resources
Yeah.
sometimes too, especially if you're a startup on a shoestring budget.
Right.
So for us as a wealth management firm, when we meet with a small business owner, the financial planning is a lot of the same, except it takes a few different turns. I would say risk management. So looking at life insurance needs are a little bit different, especially if you have a larger small company. Is that the thing? Like key man insurance. What happens to your business? What happens to you? Something were to go wrong, hit by the bus, as we say. And that can be somewhat simple to solve. Maybe if you have a good team surrounding you, and then obviously how we think about building wealth, because in traditional financial planning, the equity in your business is not something that people really take into account, and so. But the business owner does. Business owners, I'm going to sell this business someday, and hopefully I can get X for it. But that X is usually an arbitrary number that's just made up in their head. They don't know, and so that's where we work with them to go. Look, you still, assuming it's a healthy business, you still need to be putting money into your 401k or into some type of savings, because you can't be business poor. So the business will go out of business for some reason. If you make buggy whips and there's no more buggies, you get a problem, right? So you want to be saving on the outside, and we show them that, but also we're able to kind of work with them on, okay, what's an exit strategy for your business, and just ask them open-ended questions and see if they have a real strategy for that. And that's something that most small business owners probably don't have much of a clue about. And one of the things I've learned in my time is, if you make the whole entire business about you, your business is not worth nearly as much if you have proven processes in place, and you can step away from the business. We'll get into that in a minute, because I know I asked you to put together 3 things that can help a small business owner grow and scale, and that I will get to that in a second. But the financial planning process,
that is a very key point, though. I don't know if people do not want to, if the business is completely dependent on the owner or a few key people, it's obviously going to be worth less. And it's obviously so. Anyway, keep going. But yeah, we can talk more about that later.
So here's the fun part with working with small business owners is when you get down to the end of the day and you go, okay, you need to be saving $50,000 more a year to achieve your financial independence goals. For most people who are working W-2s, you're like, I don't know, where's that going to come from? We need to eliminate debt first, or we need to get second jobs, or we got to reduce our expenses to make sure we're saving more money somewhere. I mean, that's the normal problem solving way, right? But with a small business owner who has a healthy business, it's a very different conversation. And we've had these in the past with clients that I've sent to you where I've said, hey, if you want to do this, then you've got to sell 50 more widgets. And just through a normal conversation, I'm able to ask them and say, okay, what's your cost per widget? So this is your net margin or your gross margin. What's your net margin? And then I'd say, okay, you got to sell 50 more widgets a year. Is that possible? And they're like, oh yeah, that's possible. And it's like, well, do you have time to do that? No. And so we get stuck on okay, well, I know I can sell more, but I definitely don't have time to do that. And it's like, well, you got to build a team. You got to scale this thing, and you should talk to my friend Marty, who can help you kind of puts all this together. So that's kind of where I wanted to take this podcast is, you're a business owner. What are 3 things that are probably holding business owners back from being able to really scale and grow and maybe eventually sell a business?
Oh, I only get 3.
You only get 3. We could talk for hours,
Which we have off camera before. But
Hadley's already put me on a stopwatch, so we have to make sure.
Oh, that's right. We've gone long before.
We got to make sure that we stick within her format.
First thing, and I don't think this goes without saying, because I remind new clients and current clients about this all the time, but just the number one critical thing, and company people start businesses as kind of as a technician or the doer that's kind of doing everything. But eventually, if you want a job, that's great. If you want a business, eventually you need to start stepping up and thinking about how you're going to lead the business. And so leading the business, lots of different things that go with this, but like really just answering some questions like, what do we want this thing to look like in 3 years? How much revenue, how much profit, how many employees, what kind of customers are we going to serve? What kind of products and services are we going to offer? Kind of layering in your values of how you want people to show up, or what kind of characteristics do you want them to embody? It's really thinking about kind of what the bus is going to look like, and then it's a process of putting the right people on the bus to get to its destination. But that leadership piece of it, just going out there and thinking about that is absolutely key. A lot of my clients have not spent a lot of time that have come from your clients and other clients, which is fine. Having given that the rigor, I think most small business owners need to really kind of build a business. And so parts of that, there's other things about that is then there's, okay, know where we want to go. How do we break that down into years? How do we break that down into quarters? How do we might break that down into months? But just figuring out how you prioritize the swath of things that need to happen in a small business to a few simple things, and just focusing and executing on those things and just building it up over time. So in a way, it's like a systems view of leadership, or how a small business owner should be really focusing on kind of before you do anything else.
Yeah, vision and mission. So
mission.
I met you, well, I found you because I was looking to talk to someone who understood Donald Miller's story brand, who understood Michael Gerber's E-Myth, yes. And I had just been introduced to EOS. Who is that? Who does the traction book?
Gino Wickman.
Gino Wick, that's right. And so I will say, I think Donald Miller does a great job of helping people discover mission, and that's something you work people through. And then but I really love the traction book for vision, because there's the 10-year goal, the 5, the 3, and the 1. And when you get down to the 1, you break that down. I break it down into quarters and go, okay, in order to get to the 10-year, I got to move these rocks in order to get there. And I keep this vision on one page, just on one page, and it's in my daily book that I carry around to, make notes at conferences or whatever, but it's sitting in there, and some of it's up on my board in my office. But the important thing is you keep looking at it, because there's so many distractions, there's so many rabbits you can chase. But if you move those rocks out of the way to get to your 1 year, then you're going to meet the 5 year, right? Or the 3 year, then you're going to meet the 5 year, then you're going to meet the 10 year.
Yeah, you said a key thing, like keeping it, so back in the E-Myth days, we would write these, we would call it the strategic objective, where it's basically a vision document, and it could be pages and pages. So,
right.
Which really made the business owner think, but the EOS approach and the business made simple approach, kind of getting it down almost to synthesize sound bites and things that you can actually review with frequency, and what you're doing, keeping in your book on your wall. But you've got the owner and the employees have to be looking at that vision. Where are we going? Where are we going? How are we getting there? Kind of thing is just part of kind of a habit that just needs to happen. And that's I think very key to success. And there's a lot of tools that help you do that, but and they're different for everybody. But
I think Donald Miller said you have to, tell your employees what the mission is so much that they just roll their eyes when you say it. That's how you're succeeding. But a lot of people leave and create jobs for themselves, and the mission was very short-sighted. My mission is to start an LLC, to start Acme Inc., to start producing X widgets for X dollars, and it never goes beyond that. It's I've been there. It's a tough transition, because usually people who are doing this are really good at what they do, and so hand it off to someone else to be able to scale and grow doesn't. It's a tough transition. So
Don Miller has probably the simplest and the clearest way of doing it. And literally it's we will accomplish X,
yes,
X and X by Y,
right? Because
of this. And the third part is really kind of your why, or it's really your mission. But he layers on kind of and these are more internal missions for the company. It's not something you're going to throw up on a website, but internal mission for the company. But in getting that, so it's almost like repeated every staff meeting, owners looking at, and just like you said, they roll their eyes like, do we have to recite the mission again? And the 3 economic priorities of the company.
It's a real mission. It's a mission that makes sense, where so many mission statements I feel like are come out of like corporate legal departments, and they don't make any sense. You're just like, I don't even know what this means. But that trend's definitely changing, even at big companies. So I think I know what your number 2 is now. Now that we kind of talked through this, but all right. So what's number 2? So number 1 is have a vision and a clear mission. What is your number 2?
Number 2, systemize everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say. Yeah.
I mean, just, and there's a lot, I mean, that's not like a new original thought, but like,
no.
So Casey, a lot of my clients come to me with, they want to grow the business. They want to scale the business. They want to create extra income that you can invest for long-term financial planning. Another key goal clients come to me is that they just are tired because their business depends so much just on them. And you probably can relate to what I'm saying back in the early days of wiser wealth management. But if the business is, if what you were saying earlier, if the business is so dependent on you for everything that happens, that is tiring. I'm thinking of one of your clients specifically in my head. It's tiring. It's tiring, and it's not fun, and it doesn't. It's hard to scale if everything depends on the owner or a few key people. And so the approach to reducing that dependency on the owner is really creating systems, delegating, some of it's prioritizing, and then bringing on great people who can take these systems and this thinking and take it to the next level. So the owner doesn't just have to be involved in everything. And that's harder might sound easy, but it's hard for them to do, to let go of things. And I know we're talking about finances. Finances, like, I mean, I have so many business owners like who still, I mean, these are $1 million, $2 million businesses that they still do the books, and they don't do them well. Don't do them well, but they're kind of so mired into the kind of doing the tactics of the finances that they don't spend more of the strategic time to say, what are these numbers telling me? Where's my business going? And just understanding the financial systems is just one area that I always encourage clients, like, you got to give up that bookkeeping thing, or create processes and create structure so that someone can do that. So it's usually like the first thing I always say, got out of doing that. They're like, no, it's my money. I'm like, yep, but other people can help you with your money.
Right.
CPA, if you have a controller, if you have a bookkeeper, if you have a good financial planner guy like you, there's a team of people to help you with the money, but eventually you've got to be kind of leading that team, because that is your money. It's the lifeblood of your business. So
you think about, Truett Cathy. I figured, he was really good at making a fried chicken sandwich. And at some point he had to allow others to make a fried chicken sandwich. And now there's thousands of Chick-fil-A locations that have the exact same chicken sandwich that he put together. And I had the privilege of talking with his son, who's, I guess, now retired, Dan Cat. And it was in a small group setting, but I'm on the board of visitors up at Berry College, and I can't remember why we were all standing there, but he was just telling a story that I guess that he had found some venture capital money back when they just had this one location. What a lot of people don't know is the first Chick-fil-A sandwiches actually were in Waffle Houses. So Waffle House had a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So it was in Waffle Houses, and then later they cut that deal, and then they went and obviously started their multiple locations. But he went to his dad and said he found someone. His dad got really upset with him and says, no, we have to fix our processes first. Once you have the process down, then we can scale and grow. We don't have our processes down yet. And I thought that was so such good advice to the business owners that were standing around him, because that's so true. I mean, even here at Wiser, I mean, we break our processes all the time. I used to get so frustrated going, oh my gosh, like this process is broken now, or this process is broken. And you have to kind of keep minding the process and keep improving the process. But we're breaking it because it used to be 2 people who did it. Now there's 4, or there's 8.
Right.
And a friend of mine who grew and scaled a business, he told me that if you're not breaking your processes, that means you're probably not growing. so now I kind of take it a little source of pride, but it's still a little pain to have to go back and rewrite processes on a constant basis.
Hey, breaking processes, that means people are actually using your processes. That's a whole other thing too. Like, hey,
that's true.
There's something wrong here. Oh, that's good. That means they're following the steps, or they're following the system to make that happen.
We literally,
that's how they get better, is by breaking them and refining them, but getting kind of that established. And then it's always important, like, is this process, this system, this SOP, is it creating the result that we want out of this thinking?
Marty, if I wanted to get a stamp here, because we print our own stamps off, I have no idea how to do that. Not a clue. But there's a manual that lives online, and somewhere in that manual is a step on how. So if everyone was gone, I could open up the book and okay, this is how I generate a stamp. This is like, for example, I thought we do quarterly billing for our assets under management clients, and my key person who does that is out of the office. Had some major surgery done, and so it's like, crap, I haven't billed in probably 7-8 years. I haven't done. And this is like our key person who's always here, right? Who does this. But there's a process written down. And the reason why she'll probably be with me forever is that 2 days after her surgery, she did the billing from home. And I was like, oh goodness, but thank goodness. But there was a 4-page paper already written out step by step to click on this, click on that. And that's what you have to do as a business owner, is have repeatable processes that you just follow. And the idea is that, there aren't always the brightest people in fast food industry, right? But they seem to get out the same product the same way every single time. How's that possible? It's possible because it's a repeatable process, right?
I read something like a 16-year-old who I don't know where I grabbed this from, but a 16-year-old often can't make their bed or clean their room, but a 16-year-old could actually run a McDonald's for the most part. Which I was like, that's a really good point. Points to like a very systems-driven fast food, quick service retail restaurant, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, they all kind of have that.
That's funny. My son has done really well in golf, and he's headed to Mississippi State on a D1 scholarship.
Nice.
But he still has his senior year to go. And this last 4 or 5 months, he's really been struggling with one area of his game. But yet, I also have a hard time with him leaving the house. He has no other responsibilities other than to be a good golfer, and he'll leave the house with his bed unmade. And I keep telling him, I say, look, the chipping's not going to get better until the bed's made. He's like, I don't understand why you keep telling me that. I said, because how you practice is how you should also live your life. So you should make the bed every single day, because that's a routine. And it's just like you should go out and do the chipping drills every single day until, things get better. But, golf's like whack-a-mole. You get your chipping down, then your putting goes, and then your driving goes. And then when all it comes together, he shoots in the low 60s. It's amazing to see. But it's amazing. But yeah, repeatable processes. That's so key.
The other thing, we can use kind of the examples of McDonald's, and we can use the stamp examples, and kind of which are the step things, but just having a way you think about things and how it's not all processes are do this, do that, do this, then what happens, and then what happens, and then what happens. Many business processes are set up that way, but just having just a way of kind of how you think about even how you think about like your target market.
Yeah.
I mean, just taking something kind of off the wall. There's a way to kind of a systematic way to kind of peel through your customers and kind of figure out which ones do we really want, which ones are most probable, which ones are, I mean, just that's not like a complete series of do this, do that, do this thing, but there's frameworks and samples, processes and systems. So I love about all the Miller stuff. They give you a way to think about it and structure it and put it in a box. And technically, that's a process that you can be repeated and be built on over time. And it's not dump the basket of fries into the hot oil and you take them out after 2.4 minutes and you put them this. And they're bigger and more thinking than that.
So vision, mission's important. Number 2 was creating repeatable processes for others to be able to follow. To have
systems-driven business, systems-driven.
What's number 3?
Number 3. That eventually, to grow, scale a business, the leader of the business, nothing really happens without the leader. I mean, that's why we have leaders. I mean, nothing happens with the business until the leader kind of takes on a mindset of working. It's the old E-Myth term, but working on the business versus in the business. And so you could say from tactical to strategic, from technician to, to more of a manager. There's a lot of different terms for this, but eventually the leader of the business eventually should be doing is leading, managing, and holding people accountable. And that is really about it. I'm just putting those three different words, but really over time, that's what great leaders do. They're not in the weeds doing stuff and all this. And, that can still be meeting with key clients. It could be, getting into the business where they need it if there's an issue, but that's just something really critical. Just breaking away from doing everything and just thinking at a higher level. That can even get into, a lot of clients who just, how long have you had that issue? What do you mean? Well, we've always had that issue. I mean, all issues can eventually be thought through and put away, but it's kind of the leader's job to say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. That this is broken. We've got to fix this issue. And so those other kinds of parts of, if you're in the business so much, you can't kind of look at your business as this thing. It's very hard to kind of be on it when you're in it the whole time. So it's kind of simple advice. Work on it instead of in it, or get a healthy balance of that over time. And that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, there's coaching. I think Dan Sullivan was one of them. People pay, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 a year, and they go away to like Chicago or wherever for these, intense planning sessions. And no knock against him. I know several people who've gone through the program and loved it. I looked at it many years ago. It wasn't for me, but what I found, because if you remember, I built this business as an airline pilot. That was my primary job, and I grew this business from really nothing. And I found that being an airline pilot at times is like watching paint dry on a nice clear day going up and down the East Coast. And so I was detached. The cell phone didn't work. There's no Wi-Fi in the cockpit at the time. So there were really no distractions on a nice day. And I would just come up with a lot of thoughts that I would write down in my notebook as I was trucking across the country. And I got
while you're flying the plane, that's good.
Automation's a great thing and a good first officer. But I just remember thinking, having the same thoughts that my buddies who were doing these other programs had, in that you just have to remove yourself from the business. And I mean, physically, like go somewhere and think about these things, right? Get some few sessions with you and get some objectives that you have to be working through, the homework, right? So many times we're running from project to project to project to project. We come home, we have family time, we're exhausted. Maybe we do a little more work, and then we go to bed. We wake up next morning, a repeatable process. But you're not going to get any traction doing that. You're going to keep spinning your wheels. You might get increased dollars, but you're not really going to get anywhere that's going to take you a long way. And so I always tell people, if like, so many businesses are like husband and wife businesses, like you guys need to have a work related trip where you go somewhere, go to Sea Island or go to wherever for 3 or 4 days. But you come home with these objectives, right? And I was really able to do that. Now, when I quit flying in 2014 and I was here every day, I lost that. I lost that ability to really think outside of the business. But you can recreate that. You just can't have planning meetings in your company conference room. Like, just nothing good's going to come out of that. There's so many distractions. You got to do your planning meeting offsite somewhere. Even for us, we just go to a local venue nearby. Mm-hmm. It's not a big trip or anything, but yeah, that's so important. And being able to think through these basic steps of how you're going to accomplish that. But it leads to so much more. These are three awesome tips, Marty. Thank you for them.
And so just the anyway, it's just a point you're kind of talk about your offsite meetings or whatever, but another system is, what is your meeting cadence? What is your series
right.
of meetings? And so what you named a really key one. I call it the quarterly offsite, but like in small business owners, I mean, I like to try to work with clients and like, hey, meetings can be fun if you're clear on what you're trying to accomplish. It's structured. You get kind of trained to not let everything just go off the rails in the meeting. But having an effective way you run your meetings as you grow your business is another part of that. And that just gets you kind of still back to the point of getting out of the business, in the business, but leading it through some key meetings, and not a ton of them, but like the meetings are absolutely critical, even if you're a small business. Even more importantly, the meeting you have with yourself or the meeting you're having on the plane.
Right. Well, these are three good points. But when you peel these back, there's more things underneath. And for instance, when you realize that I'm doing everything, I got to hire someone, that's a whole nother process. That's a journey that we had to go through of how do you hire? And I had to read book after book to kind of hone in on what our process should be.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Ramsey had some really good hiring techniques. I have insiders at Chick-fil-A that shared with me some of their hiring techniques. Basically I just kind of took it all together and figured it out. But now I'm kind of down to really like 4 simple questions to get to right to the heart of where I think, can this person do the job technically, right? Or I should say, does the person have the ability to do the job technically? Mm-hmm. I'll hire the 51%, right? That has the ability to do it, and I'll teach them the other 49.
Sure.
I'm okay with that. But anyway, Marty, if people want to work with you in their small business, how do they get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn, but probably the easiest way is just paradisebusinesscoaching.com.
What a great business name.
I don't think most small business owners think they're in paradise with my
but we all want to be there. We all want to be there.
They all want to be there, but it's a memorable last name, and it is my real name. I get that question a lot too.
It's your work name.
My work name. Yeah, but paradisebusinesscoaching.com. And I, as I've done with several of your clients, schedule just an initial consultation, talk about what's going on, what they're looking to change, how I might help. Very easy, and we kind of go from there. But that's where it starts.
Okay. Well, Marty, thanks for your time, and have fun with your summer travels.
All right. You too, man. Take care. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This episode was produced and edited by Ken Hoadley.